What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the RGVSports.com football podcast. My name is Bryan Ramos,
I'm Ivan Palacios.
My name is Edward.
and here we are for week five to preview week five of the Texas high school football regular season with a quick look back at week four. Some teams are already in district play, other teams putting those final tune-ups there on their non-district schedule. So, guys, we're nearing that midway point of the Texas high school football regular season. Just your thoughts on the season so far for Rio Grande Valley football here in the 956.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting so far. I mean, teams that we aren't used to seeing in the top 10 or up there, and there's some teams that we're used to seeing in the top 10 that haven't won a game yet. So it's been an interesting start so far. And, another interesting week of football coming up, a lot of cross-district matchups over in 6A, potential playoff previews there. And it's like you said, so some of these teams are kind of that final tune-up before district starts up. So, once that's said, I talked to Coach Cantu last week. He said it's 0-0 all over again. So whether you go 0-5 in non-district, as long as you can string a couple of wins together during district play, I mean, you can get into that playoff.
And Edward, I know we're approaching the midway point, man. We got some really good high profile matchups coming up here in week five. I mean, I think we got three matchups between top 10 teams here coming up this week, man. Just your thoughts on a little bit of a sneak preview of what we're going to be looking forward to here in week five and some of these big time matchups.
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff that Ivan said is true, too, and that I think in these games there's a lot of good athletes, and I think that we're kind of done with like the COVID excuses, like these guys have been playing football the last few years hard, like through like what I'm saying, like from middle school onward. So I think those like excuses are kind of done, and in those games, especially, there's gonna be so many good football players to watch and that we've pre-profiled already, and that that have, and some of these guys have burst onto the scene, so they're having good summer programs probably, so a lot of good athletes.
Yeah, definitely some good football going on here in the Rio Grande Valley. Ivan, why don't you tell the people where they can find the most up-to-date stats here in the Rio Grande Valley of all the leaders in, offense, defense, and special teams categories.
Yeah, man. I mean, to find all that, just go to football.rgvsports.com, or you can go to rgvsports.com and click on the football tab. It'll take you there. And like you said, man, we got everything: passing, rushing, receiving, scoring, defense, and we got special teams, man. We got to show those special team players some love. Those kickers, kickers are people too, man. So we got those stats on there. Everything that everyone else doesn't have, we got for you. We even got district standings, man. I know a lot of these teams aren't in district, but you want to see how your team's doing or how they stack up, feel free,
Mhm.
football.rgvsports.com or hit rgvsports.com and click on that football tab, man.
Absolutely. You can find us on all platforms now: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can catch all the latest in high school football. And but we got volleyball coverage, cross country coverage, and of course, UTRGV football going on. Everything can be found there at rgvsports.com. So, fellas, let's dive right into this next episode, man. I mean, as always, we'll start off with a quick run through of the RGVSports.com 5A, 6A top 10. Not too much movement. A lot of teams stay the same, but two new teams do enter. So we'll run through that really quickly. The top five stays the same. That's PSG North, Los Fresnos, Brownsville Veterans, Mercedes, and Sherryland High. Guys, all five of those teams, you know what I mean, still unbeaten here, entering the week five of the regular season. Then we have the Mac High Bulldogs who move up a spot at coming in at number six. And following them is one of those teams, as we mentioned, that was not ranked, but of course, who started the season ranked actually in our top five. That's the Edinburgh Vela Sabercats, who have won two straight games since losing to our number eight team, the Edinburgh High Bobcats, who also started the season. Got there, I believe they were our number 10 team in the preseason. So I know when we dropped those initial rankings, a few people were like, "Oh, Edinburgh High, why is Edinburgh?" Well, Edinburgh High can play some really good football this year. You know what I mean? They got a really good team, and they picked up a big win over Vela there in week two. Only losses to Mercedes. So Sabercats come in at number seven. Edinburgh High right behind them at number eight, and then rounding out the top 10, the Edinburgh Economides Jaguars at number nine. And Mission Veterans at number 10. They hold firm. Economides stays unbeaten, and Mission Veterans, they lose a close game against an undefeated team there in Laredo LBJ this past week. But so we're not going to knock them much for that one. Patriots, that was their first loss of the season. So now, fellas, I mean, guys, I mean, this we got two R's at the top of I mean, that district, 16-3A D1, those teams, I mean, that's as good as it gets here in South Texas football. And we got some good squads to lead off that group. Ivan, you want to give us a rundown of the sub 5A top five?
Yeah, man, and it's like you said, the top two teams stay the same. Raymondville and Rio Hondo coming in at 1 and 2 respectively. And these teams seem on a collision course for that district title. Both opened up district play with some pretty impressive wins, and they keep those top spots because they've earned them. Like the other teams in our other poll, they're still undefeated, and just kind of keep things rolling here at number 3. We have La Feria Lions who move up a spot after they suffered that loss to Raymondville last week, but they bounced back nicely with a 60-0 win over Valley View. And coming in at number 4, we got the Lyford Bulldogs. They do drop down one spot. They lose that district opener, but hey, they've put together a couple good wins to start the season, and we're not going to knock them too much for that loss against a Bishop team that's really good. We've seen them play some close games this year, and just to kind of wrap things up, it is a team that started in our top 5 this season, kind of fell out after a rough showing against Lyford, but they're back. It seems like they're kind of finding their groove again, and that's the La Villa Cardinals. They come in at number 5 this week, and those Cardinals, man, they've won what, 4 straight district titles, I think, or 5. I don't even know what they're at now, but 4 or 5 straight district titles. They're chasing another, and they look like a program to beat once again as long as their guys stay healthy.
Yeah, so some movement, and as teams get into district play, I mean, we're going to definitely see some more movement there in the top 10. I mean, you know what I mean? We're getting to that point to crunch time where every game matters, no more non-district play. So looking forward to seeing how the 5A, 6A top 10 and the sub 5A top 5 polls shake out here over the next half of the season. But guys, I mean, now with that, I mean, we got to recognize 2 of the guys who had some of the biggest weeks this past week. And we'll start with the RGVSports.com Offensive Player of the Week. And guys, that's Wesco East running back Jay Herrera. He just had an all-around game. I mean, he only touches the ball 10 times and scores 4 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Nine carries, 309 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 catch for 18 yards. And I mean, man, 309 yards on 9 carries. That's insane yards per carry. You know what I mean? So big time shout out to Wesco East running back Jay Herrera for picking up bringing home the RGVSports.com Offensive Player of the Week honors. And then Edward, our Defensive Player of the Week, you were there. You got to see him live in person, bring home this honor. Why don't you introduce us to our Defensive Player of the Week?
Yeah, and our only 2-time Player of the Week on both sides of the ball, right? Caden Hoover from Vela, 3 picks, 9 total tackles, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Yeah, just making plays all over the field against Mission. The forced fumble was probably one of the more impressive plays to strip the like a running back after a big run. So he's making that tackle late as a safety and manhandled the ball. You know what I'm saying? Just destroyed him and ripped it from him and was able to recover it also. And his picks were nice. Mission High had to kind of throw the ball, so they took some chances, but you still got to make those plays, right? Make those
Yeah.
picks, So, Caden Hoover again, our Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, eight. Now he's now up to 8 interceptions
Yeah,
in 4 games. That leads the nation, if I'm not mistaken. Just a crazy stat there, and it's a crazy start for
hmm
Edinburgh Bella defensive back Caden Hoover. So congratulations to Wesco East running back Jay Herrera and Edinburgh Bella defensive back Caden Hoover on earning the RGVSports.com offensive and defensive players of the week here in week 4. And you know what I mean? Who's got next? That's what I want to know. You know what I mean? We're here in week 5. Who's got next? So yeah, looking forward to seeing who puts on a show here in week 5. And guys, now we'll dive into the week 4 recap and quickly dive through some of the biggest games from last week. And I mean, we had a good one. As always, we start with recapping the RGVSports.com game of the week. And last week, that was a District 16 5A D1 matchup in the district opener between the McAllen Row Warriors on the road against the La Jolla Palmview Lobos. And the Row Warriors come out with a 14-7 win on the road over Palmview. They were down 7-0 at halftime, scored 14 straight there in the second half, able to shut out Palmview. And I mean, last year, this is kind of the same deal. Palmview was up 17-0 on Rowe at half. Rowe scored 21 straight points in the second half to beat them 21-17. This year they scored 14 straight in the second half to beat them 14-7. It was kind of, you know what I mean? It felt like kind of like deja vu. There. But Rowe, man, I mean, I think we've all recognized that this road team is competitive, and we've seen, of course, their losses are against Mercedes and Los Fresnos. Their wins are against Harlingen South and Palmview. All four of those teams, playoff teams from a season ago, and they got it done. Eli Garza throws a touchdown pass to tight end Ronaldo Gonzalez for Rowe's first touchdown there in the third quarter. And then a late rushing touchdown by Jose Jimenez puts them up 14-7. Palmview quarterback Joseph Martinez scored Palmview's rushing touchdown, the 15-yarder on a quarterback keeper there in the late in the second quarter. Because I mean, in this game, it was defense. You know what I mean? Defense was making plays. Palmview linebacker Leonidas Chapa was everywhere, man. And that guy, you know what I mean? He brings the hammer, man. He drops the hammer whenever he makes contact with some ball carriers. And then Dante Rodriguez had a really good game for Rowe on the other side. But yeah, Rowe comes out victorious. They improved to 2-2 on the year. More importantly, 1-0 in district play, as that. I think we've talked about it in weeks past, but that 16-5A D1 district is going to be interesting to see how those, you know what I mean, third and fourth playoff seeds kind of shape up. And I mean, here we go. Rowe puts himself firmly in playoff contention in year one under head coach Jamar Taylor. So congrats to the Rowe Warriors on that game of the week win over La Jolla Palmview. And Palmview had to deal with some injuries, man. Wishing those guys the best of health, you know what I mean, coming forward as they continue to move forward through districts. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Palmview and Rowe kind of take shape there in 16-5A D1. Now, fellas, I know we had a few other good games, a few other top teams, and a few teams trying to make a name for themselves here early on. Why don't we continue our week 4 rundown, but looking at some of those big games last week?
Yeah, Thursday night took me to Richard R. Flores Stadium for a matchup between the Edinburgh Economides, who's been in our top 10 for a couple weeks now, against a Brownsville Pace team that's coming off their first loss. And, you know, we wanted to see Economides get tested against a team with the winning record. Like we mentioned, their first 3 opponents only had 1 win combined. Pace was 2-1 coming into this one. And you know, the result was no different. Economides just put on a show. I mean, they rushed for almost 600 yards that night. You know, 3 players over 100 yards. They had 1 player that was almost 9 more yards, and they would have had 4 players over 100 yards. Quarterback John Carrion, he's for real, man. He's an athlete with the ball in his hands. He can run it. He can make the passes when they need to. I mean, he goes 8 of 12 for 77 yards and a touchdown. Then 6 carries for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. That's not to mention that big old fullback Carlos Garcia, 114 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then running backs Reyes Luna and Johan Nunes, both, you know, 91 for Reyes and 136 for Johan. Just dominant, you know, effort by the Jaguars. And defensively, man, we got to give a shout out to that guy Jaime Gia. 14 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and interception. They were just clicking on all cylinders. And you know, I think this Economides team is legit, man. They got playmakers on both sides of the ball. They got one of the top linebackers in the valley in Aguia. You know, he didn't play the first game, but he's back with a vengeance. And you know, especially after this game. And then offensively, like we mentioned, they have plenty of weapons. And Coach Sala said it himself. We have plenty of ball carriers, and we're just trying to get each of them the ball as much as they can. I mean, you're talking about guys that are getting maybe 10, 15 touches a game. They're not. They don't have a bell cow. They got many guys that can do it, and I think that's what makes this Economides team so dangerous. And Economides a 52-20 win there in that one, and just impressive win overall. But got to give a shout out to Brownsville Pace receiver David Melendez. Another big week for him. 7 catches, 155 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Get this, in the past 2 weeks, 17 catches, 279 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's been that team's offense, and if I'm Pace, I keep feeding this guy. I mean, he leads the valley in receiving through 4 weeks, and he's just come on strong, man. And I think he's up to 9 touchdowns on the year now, and just a heck of a receiver, man.
Yeah, just I mean the start that they've had just been really impressive, man. So and Edward, I mean, yeah, I know you got some district action, District 15-5A
Hmm.
D1 featuring 2 of the Lower Valley teams that turned into a close game there between two programs who are hoping to compete for the 4th seed there in 15-5A D1.
Hmm. Yeah, South ended up winning 16-13 over Rivera. So now it's, that battle, like we talked about, that fourth spot, shaping up for like a battle between East and Harlingen South, Westwood East and Harlingen South. Yeah, it was Harlingen South had a really good start to the game. Austin Shore looked great. He threw for 221 yards. So even in like a grimy game, he still had a really good game. MC Cortez, nice little receiver out there. He had over 90 receiving yards. Caden Edwards, running back, junior running back for South, 63 rushing yards and a touchdown. So they were able to go up 16-0 at the half, but both teams just kept killing themselves with penalties. Yeah, it is what it is. It was a physical game. There's gonna be some holding calls. Maybe some nerves for the pre-snap. Some pre-snap penalties. Maybe trying out something new on offense, and you don't get lined up right. It happens. But Rivetta was able to claw their way back in that game. Gabriel Gonzalez had over 100 rushing yards. He's a really good between the tackles, running back, but yeah, Rivera just came up a little too short. That Hawks defense is pretty stout. Um, Cash Harrell, obviously Marcus Garza, but Cash Harrell, really good defensive player also. So Harden South ends up moving on to that, picking up that big win and setting themselves up for some big games coming up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Harlingen South. I mean, looking at that district, they got some games that they need to win, and that definitely was one.
Mm.
So, shout out to the Hawks coming out with a big win. And then, guys, I mean, Friday night, I know we had three different games, and I don't think any three of them were very close. But we can quickly run through those, man. I mean,
Mhm.
guys, the Bobcats, they won their third straight game. They pick up a 35-10 win on the road over Ed Couch last week, and I mean that defense is something else, man. They play sound defense, and I mean they just really dominated from start to finish. Ed Couch was finally able to get some even just move the chains, you know what I mean, late in the second half because Edinburgh was up ahead comfortably in this one. They dominate from start to finish. Isaiah Cisneros has a kick return for a touchdown and a pick. He had a pick six called back, so he does get the interception, but yeah, unfortunately, no defensive touchdown there on that end. But yeah, they come out and dominate. Woodrow Villarreal, uh, 10 carries, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Then he also has a receiving touchdown. And so, yeah, Bobcats get it done, man. And as I said, that defense looks like they're the real deal this year. Bobcats improved to 3-1 after that last week's win over Ed Couch-Elsa. And guys, I know if you want to quickly touch on those games that you guys were at last Friday night.
Yeah, over in Los Fresnos, they hosted the PSJ High Bears. I think this one was a little personal for Los Fresnos. This was a team that handed them their only regular season loss last year. And yeah, PSJ was 0-3, but I think Los Fresnos wanted to win this one, and they took care of business, man. 66-16 win there at home. Robert Pineda comes back after missing a week, over 150 total yards, five total touchdowns, and just about a half of action, man. I mean, he didn't play at all the second half. And their running backs, Diego Torres, Tyler Statuick, both coming on strong. They combined for over 160 yards and two scores, and it just gives the Falcons another weapon. And 4-0 start for these Falcons. We've had them at number two all season long, and I think they faced some early season tests, but that offense is starting to find its groove. Back to back games with over 40 points, and now you get Robert back and hopefully healthy for the rest of the year with two non-district games left, kind of last tune-up before you start that district slate where it seems like you're on a collision course with Brownsville Vets for a second straight year.
Yeah, that one's setting up to be another fun race, man. I mean, those two teams have been, you know what I mean, some of the top here in the Rio Grande Valley. So, and then Edward, man, I know you touched on it earlier, but Vela rolls over Mission.
Yeah, easy win over there for the SaberCats. They look good all around. They got a lot of good football players. Kind of like we alluded to. So, um, George Falls had three touchdowns. Kind of another receiver that, we kind of slept on and like our players to watch. He's been really good. And, you know, um, One of the other players that we profiled though was Sergio Briones, and I mean, he's a lockdown corner, So I mean that the matchup with Mackay like is really interesting. We're going to talk about it, but yeah, I mean they just took care of Mission. Mission was they had some moments, They had a nice running back, Acevedo, was pretty solid. He probably had over 100 yards for sure. He was like one of their only um, players doing that much on offense, that was consistent. But yeah, Hoover again, 3 picks. The whole defense looks solid. Like all their linebackers, they fly to the ball. Their safeties fly to the ball. Just all around good performance for the SaberCats.
Yeah, Sabercats come out with the big win. I mean, to open district play with a bang after, you know what I mean, suffering that loss in week 2 against Edinburgh High was kind of shocker to everybody. So, yeah, Sabercats back on the right road, and man, that kind of wraps up our week 4 recap. So now time to dive into our week 5 preview. And guys, as we mentioned earlier, we got 3 top 10 matchups featuring Valley teams. One of them, our game of the week, is a district matchup. The other 2 are non-district matchups. So that's why the district matchup takes kind of, you know what I mean, holds a little more weight and a little more importance, because this could potentially be for a district title here. I know it's early in week 5, but I mean, definitely down the road. And we have some other good matchups here going on. So we'll run through those. And guys, I mean, we got our number 6 team, the McAllen High Bulldogs, playing host to our number 7 team, the Edinburgh Vella Sabercats, in District 16 5A D1 action. This one is 7:30 p.m. Friday at McAllen Veterans Memorial Stadium. And I mean, guys, this should be a good team. Both of these teams are playing some good football right now. I know Vella had that disappointing loss, but I mean, since then they've locked back in, and even in that loss against Edinburgh High, man, Edinburgh High is a good football team. So like, it's you can't knock them too much for that. And then of course, on the other side, Mac High's only lost came to a really good football team, the Los Fresnos Falcons. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Mac High and Vela look this Friday. Good players on both sides of the ball for both teams. It's going to be a fun one, man. I'm expecting a good game, and really, I mean, these are 2 really good defenses that have played really lights out all year. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to this. We got players all over the field on both sides, so it's it's gonna be fun to see Mackay. I know we haven't seen them since week 1, since that dub or since that loss against Los Fresnos, but they showed well in that one. They showed that they're definitely going to be a team to watch this year. And then 3 weeks later, they've dominated all 3 of their opponents. So yeah, that's going to be a fun one. Edinburgh Vella, McAllen High, 7:30 p.m. Friday at McAllen Veterans Memorial Stadium, for 2 teams that are district title contenders there in 16-5A D1. So, guys, and now to move to another top 10 matchup, why don't we head down to the 5A level, 5A D2? We got two solid squads that are potentially are gunning for district championships in their respective districts. We got Mercedes and Sherryland High set to go at it. Edward, what can you tell us about this matchup featuring 2 good squads?
Yeah, playoff preview potential. I don't know this year, right? Because they unless Sherryland, like it could happen, But if they win the district title, they won't play each other, right? But yeah, you never know when that Sherryland district, that's gonna be tough between them, Pioneer and Mission Veterans. Like I think all those teams can win it, but yeah, last year they played in the playoffs, the Tigers and Sherryland, and Sherryland ended up losing that game despite winning against them in the regular season. So I think it should be another like real close back and forth game again, like you said about Edinburgh High and Edinburgh Villa and Mac High. Like there's so many athletes on the field, and there's gonna be so many good athletes in this game too. Just again, like this is like the week for big teams playing each other, a lot of good football players. So we'll see what Calvin Harris can do against a good defense. One real underrated Mercedes defense, like probably top 10 for sure, right in the valley against and then on the other side, Mercedes, they got a lot of good weapons also. Robert Sanchez, running back, and Diego Bravo is real underrated quarterback too. I think should get a lot more credit than what he deserves because they've been going against some really good teams, right? So I think they're both on the collision course this week, and it should be a good game. So I mean, if you're like a neutral Valley football fan, like you have so much to choose from this week.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, Edward. Should be a good one there. Playoff preview from or a playoff matchup from last year, a rematch, and we got another good one over at the 6A level coming up. It could be a potential playoff matchup there too, and that's between the number 8 Edinburgh High Bobcats and the number 2 Los Fresnos Falcons. Two teams that have been red hot to start the season. Edinburgh High, obviously, we mentioned had that one loss to Mercedes, which you can't really knock them for that. They played them tough in their first game, and then Los Fresnos 4 straight wins to start and. Really, it's going to be interesting because you got an offense in Los Fresnos that's averaging over 45 points a game, nearly 400 yards of offense, and that's with their starters not playing full halves the last 2 weeks. And over on the other side, you got an Edinburgh High squad allowing less than 6 points a game. I mean, through 4 games to only allow that much. I mean, they've allowed, I think, it can't be more. I mean, most of their points came in that first week 1 loss to Mercedes. Since then, I think it was 10 points, 6 points, and then nothing. So the Edinburgh High defense is legit. We talked about it already. Playmakers like Moises Hernandez. That D line, I think, is one of the most disruptive ones in the Valley. David Garza and Damian Gonzalez. They get to the quarterback. They have 14 and a half combined tackles for losses. And that secondary, you touched on Isaiah Cisneros. In the past 2 weeks, he's had two sixes called back. One against Hannah, one last week as well. And I'm sure he's looking to get into the end zone. He's returned a couple kicks for touchdown, but he's a ball hawk there in the secondary, and they just got playmakers on every side of that defense and the offense also. It seems like they're starting to find their groove. Woodrow starting to get his footing there at running back, and that quarterback Aiden Sanchez has players like Ethan Calderon and Jude Vega to throw to. And then, over in Los Fresnos, we already know about Robert Pineda. We know what he can do. And as long as you have him in your backfield, you have a chance to win every night. And then that defense, I mean, Juan Sanchez, one of the best linebackers in the Valley, in my opinion. Ryan Prepichaw, one of the best safeties in the Valley, in my opinion. Just, it's going to be interesting how these two teams stack up in a potential playoff preview. And I don't think early on many people would have predicted, oh, Los Fresnos, Edinburgh High, top 10 matchup. We had, I will say, we did have Edinburgh High in our top 10, but other people might have questioned it. And now here we are, number 2 versus number 8, potential playoff, preview, and non-district finale for Edinburgh High. So last tune-up before they start district in a couple weeks.
Yeah, three, I mean, big time matchups here in week 5. And we got some other big matchups that we're quickly going to run through. I mean, District 15 5A D1, guys, PSG North will travel to play Corpus Christi Veterans at 7 p.m. Friday at Buck Stadium. These two teams, of course, split the last year's district title with Flower Bluff. They split it 3 ways. But I mean, when PSG North and Corpus Christi Vets played last year, PSG North put it on them, man. I think they beat them like 35 to, I think it was like 10, 30. They blew them out of the water, man. PSG North has just been dominant. They were last year and this year. I mean, you know what I mean? They look like the best team, not just in the Valley, but you know what I mean? And, one of the best teams here in South Texas, regardless of classification. So PSG North traveling to take on Corpus Christi Veterans, 7 p.m. Friday. And then we got another good one going down, guys. I mean, Ivan, we touched on it earlier, but Mission Veterans and Harlingen will be going at it. What can you tell us about this game between the Patriots and the Cardinals?
Yeah, I mean, these are two teams coming off opposite results last week. Harlingen picked up their first win of the season against Laredo United South, and on the other end, Mission Vets got their first loss of the year against Laredo Johnson. And this Harlingen High team, it looks like Noah Huerta's finally looking healthy. 24 carries, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns in that win. Game-winning field goal there by Roland De Leon against United South to get that first win. But I mean, you got a tough test coming up with Mission Vets. They got players like Guatemo Labistida. I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong, and if I am, I'm sorry. Then Ryan Guerra, plays both ways, but he's a playmaker on defense. And then, of course, Roman Reina, man, the kid's a baller at quarterback. Only, he stepped into that starting lineup last year late, and he's really kind of come into his own this year. He leads the Valley in passing through 4 weeks, and he has that offense humming. And you can't really knock him for that loss. I mean, the team they lost to is 4-0 that also beat Wesleyan a week prior to that. So it's a really good Laredo Johnson squad there. So it's going to be kind of a interesting to see one how Mission Vets bounces back after that first loss. Getting punched in the face. How do you respond? And the other hand, Harlingen High. How do you build off of that week 4 win? I know they celebrated after that win, but it's time to put that out behind you because you got another tough opponent that you're facing off against, and you can't keep riding on that win from last week. So how do you build off of that going into this new one?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this week 5 slate kind of shakes out. I mean, guys, we got good squads going at it left and right, and of course, as you mentioned, few non-district games with some implications on what these teams are going to look like going forward. So, yeah, we're looking forward to all the week 5 action here at RGVSports.com. And as always, you can follow all of our Texas high school football coverage here in the Rio Grande Valley at rgvsports.com, and follow us on all platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And you can find everything at rgvsports.com and football.rgvsports.com for all the latest in stats and everything high school football. So, I mean, guys, with that said, I know we do our weekly pick 'em, guys. Why don't we give our picks for those those three top 10 matchups? You know what I mean? Why don't we give them like here on the pod? I mean, three big time matchups.
Yeah.
Why don't we give our picks right now?
Edward, you can go first, man.
Yeah, well, I haven't submitted my picks formally, so I mean, I'm just doing them now, I guess. But I'm gonna go with Mercedes, Mac High, and the Bobcats.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with.
There you go.
So I'm gonna roll with Mercedes in this one too. They got some animals out there. They got some dogs, and I'm gonna have to go with Los Fresnos, man. I mean, you got a guy like Robert. It's kind of hard to beat. It's gonna be an interesting one though.
Mhm.
That last game, what was it? The other game we got?
Game,
Oh,
game of the
game of
week.
the week, of course. I don't know, man. Vella's got some playmakers. So does Mac High, but I'm gonna roll with Vella in this one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think two of them are truly toss-ups, and Los Fresnos and Edinburgh. I mean, we've seen Los Fresnos, you know what I mean, do it. Now it's Edinburgh. Hey, this is another real test. They passed their first one against Edinburgh High, but I think Los Fresnos takes this one, man. They got a solid squad, and of course, Robert, just one of the best playmakers, and Juan Sanchez on the other side, just a force at linebacker. And then Mercedes, man, I've seen them play twice this year, and they've played nothing but good teams. You know what I mean? I know they had the game in there against Edinburgh North, but 3 of their 4 games have been against really good teams, and here they are 4-0. So I'm rolling with the Mercedes Tigers over Sherryland in what should be a good game. Calvin Harris on the other side. You know, Sherryland's got some studs themselves, so that's going to be a good one. And then finally, game of the week, Mackay and Vela. I'm giving a slight edge to Vela. Just because last year, I mean, I know they're different teams than they were a year ago, but Vela beat up on them a year ago. Now Vela's going to have to go into their place and do it, and I think that offense has kind of found something that works these past couple weeks, and then Mackay. I mean, since that week 1 test against Los Fresnos, they've kind of been coasting. You know what I mean? So now we'll see if they can buckle down and how the Bulldogs look here against the SaberCats. But yeah, slight edge to the SaberCats here in this one. But yeah, 3 big time matchups, man. It all goes down here in week 5. Those are all Friday night games, so that Friday night slate's going to be a good one to watch. I can have the multicast on, you know what I mean? Like if it was NFL Sunday, watching my Cowboys get their butts kicked on one screen, watching, you know what I mean, Lamar Jackson do his thing on the other screen, Josh Allen, and yeah, but no, yeah, no, I don't want to start to get too much into my Cowboys, man. That'll take this down a depressing road. But anyways, yeah, it's a bunch of week 5 action here in the Rio Grande Valley, big time matchups all across the board here. And as always, you can find the up-to-date scores and live coverage of all those games at rgvsports.com. So thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the rgvsports.com podcast. We'll catch you next time.